All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Resilience in Action with me, Sergeant Major retired Mike Aschinger. This is episode 9. I'm going to start this one a little differently with a bit of a trigger warning that we're going to discuss some difficult topics today involving personal assault. We're going to try to watch our words, but I just wanted to start that with that warning out there. So if you're tuning in, just recognize, like most episodes, we're going to be discussing some things that are really difficult today. Now I get to introduce you to our awesome guest, Gina. I had the chance to work with Gina at the hospital system where she was a security officer. Beyond that, so Gina is a athlete, a wrestler. Most of the people that come on the show can beat the crap out of me, but this is somebody that can really, really beat the crap out of me right here. So, yeah, a college wrestler. She's also a extremely accomplished artist, doing graphic design for a couple of corporations out there. To show how awesome she is at art, the album that I put out recently, I have zero artistic talent, but that gorgeous art was done by Gina, and with absolutely no input from me because I am worthless as an artist. And everybody likes the art more than the music so far. So, anyways, so yeah, Gina, thanks for joining us here today
Thank you for having me.
and talking about something that is hard to discuss and has not been discussed on this show yet. We've talked about a lot of stuff here. We've talked about losing children to suicide. We've talked about losing a spouse to cancer. We've talked about being homeless in a foreign country, having to come to America with nothing, including not even language skills, and making it. The big theme about this show is these are people who have been through really rough stuff and have come out awesome and as heroic as you have.
Thank you.
So, with that said, if you don't mind just walking us through some of what you've dealt with in the past, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. So I would just like to start off by saying that my life was great. Like my childhood, everything was, I had, mother, father, very involved family. And then as I was developing through high school and, entering puberty and all that stuff, boys were starting to get to the forefront of, you know, my priorities. And so I ended up seeing someone who wasn't exactly my age, very much older than me. And I didn't really like realize it at the time. I wasn't very much educated on what the term we now call is grooming. So um, basically, he was, would meet his parents and he'd be like, hey, make sure you tell them that you're 18, even though I was just 16 or 17 at the time. And, then he started pushing sexual boundaries. And 3 months into it, I realized, like, wait, something's not right. So um, his family found out that I lied about my age and were upset at me about it. So it was very difficult to get blamed for something like that.
Do you mind me asking how old he was?
He was 21, 22. So it wasn't like that much older, but it was still, you know, old enough where he should have known better, whereas I was just young.
There's a major maturity gap in those age groups. And you mentioned the grooming. Do you mind going into that just a little bit?
Yeah, no problem. So he would, start pushing sexual boundaries, like I said. He would, I told him, like, I'm not comfortable with this. And, I'd be like, it's okay. I'm here. Like, I'm going to be here for you. And he was just starting to get like really possessive for me too. So that was like a huge thing where it's like, I'm going to be the one to like help you through this. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, no, man, like, I'm not comfortable with this. So he'd, fall back a little bit, but then, he'd start up again. And he'd just keep like pushing deeper and deeper and like digging his nails into me deeper. And luckily I realized like 3 months in, like this was not something that I needed to go through. So
You brought up something there that I think is the biggest red flag. And as you know, I worked in personal crimes for a chunk of my career. And then I ended up in advocacy on the military side, working on the victim centric side of things. And the number one thing, that possessiveness, can you walk into that just a little bit more?
yeah,
Because
definitely.
that's so dangerous, team, out there. When I try to tell my kids, and maybe they listen, maybe they don't, but
Hmm.
it scares me the most is, and I hear it from friends all the time, it's that possessiveness, that control, that
Yes.
idiot, pervert, freaking dirtbags end up using almost every single time.
Right. Yeah. It's the control, the manipulation tactics, the possessiveness. He started slowly, like it started small. Like that was the biggest thing for me. It started very, very small. And then gradually it's like, oh, I don't like this friend of yours. I don't want you hanging out with them anymore. Or I don't like this. You know, you should really spend more time with me than you do your friends. Am I not a priority to you? So he would like use manipulation tactics to isolate myself so that I could only rely on him. And that's kind of where the manipulation, control, and the possessiveness comes into play.
And it's not, I often hear people that go into victim blaming, much like it sounds like his parents did with you, which is ridiculous
Yeah.
that it was your fault.
Yeah.
Um, but that victim blaming thing out there, anybody can get caught in that level of manipulation.
Yeah.
Like,
It starts small.
yeah.
You don't even realize it's happening.
And some of the strongest people I've served with people in military who were in relationships like that. And I mean, and what do you do? I mean, what do you do
Right.
once they have that level of control? So, anyways, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So after 3 months in, like I said, I realized now everything is starting to like develop like, holy crap, like I have to take a step back here. So I tried to break up with him. I'm like, look, like this isn't working for me. Like I didn't feel safe enough to do it in person. Like my gut was telling me, don't do it in person. So I didn't. I did it over text. Probably shouldn't have done that, but he didn't like that. So he decided to walk 5 miles to my house at the time because he didn't have a vehicle. And he's like, we're going to talk about this. I'm like, no, like there's nothing to talk about. So we had the talk. And then my mom told me, make sure you give him a ride home.
Oh, no.
My mom was the one to tell me to give him a ride home. And I love my mom. Like, I don't blame her at all for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It was after curfew for an underage person. So I drove him home or driving him home. And then it was at that point where it started to like finally click, like it was over. And then that's when the switch just like flipped just like that. He went from like being okay to insane amount of anger. So I'm driving, I'm 16, 17 years old, and I'm like holding on to the steering wheel. I just got my license, and he just started to be like so angry. He punched my headrest as I'm driving on the highway going 70 miles an hour. And then once that didn't work, and I was still like, no, like this is it. He's like, I'm going to jump out of this vehicle. So he opens the door like on the highway, going 70 miles an hour on the highway. And he's like, I'm going to jump out. And I'm like freaking out, like, please don't do this. Like, please. So I start crying and then he punches the headrest again. I managed to get home, like drop him off at home and he refused to get out of the vehicle. He's like, no, just like that. I'm not getting out of the vehicle.
That sounds horrific.
It was, it was terrifying. Like I was 16, 17 years old. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like my first relationship and this is what it is. So he refused to get out of the vehicle. So I shut the vehicle off and I'm like, okay, fine. I'll just start walking home. So I get out of the vehicle. Then he gets out of the vehicle. I'm like, okay, maybe I can sneak back in. But he made his way around to the driver's side door when it was open and he was blocking me from getting in my vehicle to leave. I was like, please move. Please let me go. Because he was kind of like holding me captive there. And he's like, no, not until you take me back. Not until you take me back. Like, no. I'm like, please move. So at this point in time, I'm like, if I slam the door on him just to like defend myself or to like try to get away from the situation, my rationale was at least I said please. And as a 16, 17-year-old woman, like you don't want to anger them too much because you don't know what's going to happen. So I slammed the door on him and then that's when he got really upset. So he actually like grabbed me by my throat and then like pushed me back like this. And the only thought that I could think of was stay on your feet because if you fall, you're done. Like I don't know what's going to happen. So he ended up, I don't know what happened, but he ended up letting go of my throat and I just sprinted towards that van. And I shut the door, I locked the doors. And once that adrenaline wore off, I just like leaned my head on the steering wheel and cried for like 10, 15 minutes as he's like tapping the window.
Jeez. Sorry, that's heavy. This is a tough story, but 16-year-old girl doesn't deserve that. I'm sorry that you dealt with that. And what does your mind even do? I mean, there's
Survival mode.
yeah,
That's what it is.
because you don't plan for that.
No.
That's you shouldn't have to in this world. Like, hey, if you're out there and you're one of these no doesn't mean no people, no means no, and to do that to a human being, it's incomprehensible. Um, I how'd you? So you stopped, you cried for a bit. He's still just outside tapping on the window.
Yeah.
Were you able to drive out away from there after that, or
Well, that was a whole other story. So after I composed myself, I was like, okay, I can just drive off, go home, forget it ever happened, because that's what I just wanted to do. And so I turned on the vehicle and I started and I put it in reverse, and he ran to the back of my van, preventing me from leaving. And I'm like, okay, I'll put it in drive because it had the opportunity where you could just spiel out in drive. So I put it in drive and he runs to the front of my vehicle as I'm like starting to go. So he's not letting me leave. I didn't even think to call the cops because I'm like, this isn't even like an emergency. Like in my head, like such an irrational thought. This wasn't an emergency. No one's dying. So I didn't even think to like call the police or anything. And I didn't want to because then my mom would have to wake up. And, I'm thinking about all these things like, do I really need to? Do I really need to? I should have, without a doubt.
sure,
Looking back on that, I should have called the police. So I put it in reverse again and he runs to the back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to fake put it in drive. He's going to run to the front and then I'm going to just put it in reverse and then just squeal out of there like no tomorrow as fast as I can. So I put it in drive. He runs to the front, put it in reverse, squeal my tires, and I back out of the driveway and I get right on the highway.
dude. I can't even imagine. Like, I dealt with some heroic stuff, or heroic. So I did not deal with heroic stuff. I'm sorry. I dealt with some very difficult things when I was younger, and your mind doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what to do, and you're
Mhm.
not expecting it. I my gosh, that whole time and all that manipulation, the I'm gonna hurt myself,
Yep. The
all,
anger, the I'm going to kill myself kind of thing. Yeah.
and it's really becoming a thing right now. Like it's happening to people more and more, and I don't know what I don't know what you do about it in law enforcement. I dealt with that so much, those manipulative, destructive relationships, threatening people's pets, threatening people's family to stay with a person. You can't be in your right mind and want to have a captive relationship. That was in the military when I dealt with people who were abusing rank in relationships. I'm like, how can you be comfortable with that?
Yeah. Like ethically, morally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how can you be comfortable with that? Like, how can you ever feel good about yourself? But that's the thing, that one of the predictors that I see in people who end up being manipulative like that is almost always low self-esteem. So if
Yes.
the self-esteem is very low, they tend to develop those manipulative, abusive tactics because they don't think, somewhere deep down inside it's kind of broken that they really deserve people, and so they lash out, and that's what they become. And I don't think I always wonder, like, do they know that's how you're behaving? Like,
They're desperate for any sense of like control because they don't have it in like self-security.
yeah.
So they do that kind of behavior for themselves to feel good, which isn't healthy.
Well, and I wish that was the last time that you ever had to deal with anything terrible in your life.
Cops were called on that one too, by the way.
They did get called,
Well, they heard my tires squeal.
and they got called on you.
So they called me because he was having an emotional breakdown. They made contact with him and he was wanting to kill himself to the cops. So then they call me and they're like, hey, like, what happened? I'm like, well, I dropped him off. I was breaking up with him. And then they asked me, why was I out past curfew?
Oh my gosh.
What are you doing out past curfew? I'm like, my mom told me to drop him off. So
Did they not think through the age thing either at that time?
I had to give him my date of birth. So they knew. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't, yeah. So that was the end of that one. But yeah,
Well, and again, I wish that this conversation was going to end there.
no, but yeah, there are other instances.
So the reason for this, you've overcome a lot of stuff. So the reason for doing this show for me is to help people have hope who've been through tough stuff. In that particular instance, how could somebody have helped you? Whether it be law enforcement, family, what did you not get that you could have gotten
The
for them?
support, like, from the police, you know, I'd hate to say it, but, like, my mom at the time too, but I love her to death. She's naive a little bit, so she didn't really know or what was going on, and I didn't tell her. How are they supposed to know if I don't tell them?
Right.
So, I think that's a big part of it is, telling someone that, "Hey, this is happening. I'm not sure if this is a good thing or not."
Well, and you were put in such a terrible situation where you were having to hide your age.
Yeah,
So you were having to live an untruth deep down inside. And I feel like that was a piece of the manipulative hook right there
it was.
was
And like I said, it was, like, my first, like, quote, unquote, "relationship." So I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, this guy fancies me," like, initially, I thought that it was fine.
right. Okay. Your story doesn't end there.
No,
So if you feel comfortable, would you mind really just the next one? Because there's a few stories to be told here. And I want to, everybody who's out there, if any of this hits you, there is help available. Please reach out to me, reach out to us. If you want to be put in contact with Gina, I'm sure she'd have no problem talking you through stuff.
no problem at all.
But I thought this episode would be really critical to talk through once you told me your story, which I was not aware of. All I ever knew about Gina was a super BA. When I first met you, like, oh yeah, I'm a college wrestler. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to be nice. So, anyways, go ahead with anything you'd like to tell.
For sure, yeah. So after that incident, I really wanted to learn how to defend myself, which is kind of why I went into college wrestling. Because I'm like, I don't want to be in a situation like that again where, you know, something like that happens and I'm not actually able to defend myself. I got lucky that time, but then again, you fall in love again and you don't see it until it's like right in your face. And so I was actually sexually assaulted by someone else while I was vacationing down in Florida with them. We were just having a good time. It was a vacation, you're drinking, you're having a good time, swimming by the pool, but I had a little bit too much to drink, so like, I'm just gonna go change and lay down. So I changed out of my swimming suit, lay down in the bed, and I don't know if like, thinking back, I don't know if there was something else in that liquor because usually I can hold my liquor pretty good before I get to, like, a point where I'm, like, incapacitated, but, like, I was completely, like, incapacitated. I don't know, but, sometime later, the guy at the time, the guy that I was seeing, he comes in and he's, like, trying to, like I can hear him, like, "Hey, Gina, Gina," and, like, I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I couldn't, like, do anything. I was just, like, face down, stomach down, like, prone position, like, couldn't do anything. And then he stopped, and then all of a sudden, I start feeling an immense amount of pain, and I don't really need to say it, but, you can kinda assume, but it was unfathomable pain, like, it hurt so bad, and then that pain is what jolted me, like, a flip switched again, and I'm like, "Oh my god," like, wide awake, like, "It's happening," and I push him off of me, and then I just sit in a fetal position, and I just start crying, like, after what just happened, I'm like, I didn't know what to do, and it was horrifying. It hurt, and then you just hear him in the background, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry."
Not okay. Not okay.
And then I had to wake up the next day pretending everything was fine because we were still on vacation. We still had a concert to go to.
That
We
had to have been just horrible.
Yeah, I had a journal, so I started writing the morning of. I was up early, I was just going through my emotions. I think feeling things and, like, allowing yourself to feel is a good start.
So I was at a party once. I used to party. Believe it or not, in the military, I over partied a couple of times
Really?
because it's the army. Yeah. And I'm an idiot anyways. And so I was at one once where I had that same feeling, and I'm relatively sure I got a hold of somebody else's drink that had been drugged because I've drank plenty of times in my life.
Mhm.
But in this one particular instance, kind of similar thing, I was like paralyzed in a bed that I had managed to crawl into, just paralyzed.
Mhm.
And I woke up the next morning and I like couldn't remember anything. And like it wasn't, and I hadn't drank that much. Like,
Right.
in fact, at that time it was just beers. And like, I really, being as big as I am, you have to have enough beers to actually be intoxicated. I don't think I could drink that much beer. So, but in that instance, I had that paralyzed feeling. That was very scary. And the next morning, even I was trying to put together like, was what happened last night? Like,
Right.
am I okay? Get to the mirror and I've got some stuff drawn on my face. So I think people treated me okay. I was drawing on my face, but that's really scary. What's scariest about that was that that was meant for somebody else there. So there was
Yeah.
something very nefarious taking place at that party. And I can't imagine the horror that you felt.
It happens more often than not. Like, you'd be surprised of how many women, tell the story of, I didn't have that much to drink. I didn't think I had, but I can't remember.
Anything.
And the victim blaming too, like, well, maybe you just really can't hold your alcohol, or maybe, XYZ.
Yeah. Again, it's okay to party and it's okay
Mm.
to imbibe too much. All that stuff is okay. And it's not the fault of anybody in those instances. And I get so sick of having to have that argument. Over the years, I've had to have that argument so much. I actually worked a case very similar to that. A good buddy of mine, Brent, worked the bad guy side of things. I worked on the victim interview side of things. And when we got him to start talking and tell the story, it was horrific. It was so diabolical and
Mhm.
planned. Similar thing is all the sorries afterwards. That's not because the person's actually sorry. Yeah, that's because they don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's
And they got caught.
and if you don't mind, like the impact to you, it's a big deal, right?
It is, yeah. And I diminish those own feelings. I'm like, oh, he loves me. I'm in a relationship with him. Someone I love wouldn't do that to me, or someone that loves me wouldn't do that to me. So I wrote it off for like the longest time. And I coped with it in a very unhealthy way. I drank relentlessly. Like, every night I was done with work, I would just, one time I counted to see how many shots of Captain I could take just to like drown that pain out, to cope with it, because I couldn't talk to him about it. Every time I tried, he'd just get mad.
So you stayed in a
I
relationship.
stayed with him for 3 more years, yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
because it was diminished. Like, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but looking back on it after being out of that relationship, I was like, "What am I doing to myself? Like, why did I do this for so long afterwards?" And then after that, even, it was the physical abuse too, and it was the emotional abuse, and it was the narcissistic tendencies, and I don't like to throw that word around lightly, but, I've had beer bottles thrown at me. I still have a dent in the wall from that same person, and it was ripping the railing off of the basement railing out of anger because I did something that upset him. While I could, I go to work, go home, and he's out partying till 6, 7 in the morning. Just the emotional, like, oh, you're crazy. That was the biggest thing. I was the crazy one for reacting. And that's what they do. They blame you.
I, yeah, protecting yourselves from that. Like again, in this instance, if you look back, hindsight being 2020, were there any earlier on red flags that this was coming? Things that you could help people identify? It's such a sucky world that my 15-year-old daughter, every time she goes to something, even like a high school football game or something, one of the things I have to tell her is watch your drinks.
Yeah.
She's like, Daddy, I'm not drinking. I'm like, listen, watch your Pepsi. Like watch your Coke, because it is in my law enforcement days, I dealt with it so much. And then in my military days, I dealt with that so much. And I'm not saying this was all what they call green on green assaults, by the way. I do want to make a point that assault that happens in military circles isn't always service member related, but it is very often in mutual parties or that type of scenario. But what a crappy thing to have to tell a 15-year-old girl,
Right.
mind your Gatorade. I mean,
Especially with how technology has evolved, it's so much easier to access, even child pornography online.
yeah,
Like, this world is really showing how many predators have gone unnoticed, which is a good thing that we're finally starting to realize that it's a very big problem.
Yeah. And in every walk of life, I always there's certain career fields like the clergy get a lot of like that's where it's really at, but it's teachers.
Yeah.
Goodness, and it's even there's even more female teachers now coming out. I mean, I just read a case this morning of a 22-year-old female teacher sending 14-year-old kids images. It's sickening how much it is out there. So then back to the character issues of a dude. Like, are there any red flags you can walk people through as far as this person might be a problem, might be manipulative, might be narcissistic inside?
Bad habits, often, they delve a lot into the drinking and they don't hide it. And the drug use, he did cocaine all the time. Like I said, it starts small. You don't realize it's happening until it's like from 50 to 180. And that's the scariest part because that's what they do is they get you comfortable and they love bomb you. So like they're like this ideal person that you want in your life. And then boom, now that they have you, now I can do whatever I want with her.
Yeah, and I've been exceedingly lucky in my life. Never fell into that toxic thing because it's out there and it's
Mhm.
real. And they're smart and manipulative. Low self-esteem is one of the things I always look for in a person. Like if they're, my daughter started the first boy that she dated, he was throwing flags, like real flags.
Yeah.
And I was right. And it sucked because I'm a parent, so I'm probably never right. But in this instance, I'm right. And now the boy that she's dating now is all put together, is an athlete, doing well. I'm like, see, there's a major difference in
Yeah.
how you get talked to, respect, and then respect. Respect is such a big deal.
Yes.
Um, yeah, like the old fashioned respect is like waning across the board. Like,
Hmm.
but people deserve to be treated with respect. Like they really do. You deserve absolute and maximum respect in that relationship, and you didn't get any respect. It
Yeah.
sounds like towards the end there.
Another thing too is like the sleep deprivation was a huge one for me too in that relationship. So I actually had a new job and it was 7, 8 in the morning until like 4 or 5 at night. But he would always like want to play video games in the bedroom and like couldn't sleep.
No, that's
Like he had no consideration. So like I started this new job. I was in there for maybe like 3 months and then they actually fired me because I was always so tired that they thought that I was on drugs. They're like, "You just have huge bags under your eyes, you're not, all put together." Like, I'm like, "Dude, like."
that's that's torture.
Yeah, I had to, like, have, like, things over my eyes for it to be dark, like, wear earplugs, all just because he wanted to play video games in the bedroom because he didn't wanna go out to the living room to play it. He's like, "No, I'm gonna do this in the bedroom. I just wanna lay down."
How horrible.
Yeah. I'm like, "Okay, I guess I can put up with it." That was my mindset because they tear you down so much to where you just deal with it. And then it builds and builds and builds, and then when you explode, "Well, why are you just yelling at me? Why are you that's abusive, you shouldn't be yelling at me. Why are you screaming?" Now they flip the script on you, and that's a big thing that they do, is that they poke the bear, poke the bear, poke the bear, and then when you react to their abuse, then they get mad.
Yeah, that's what they're trying to get is an emotional reaction out of you, right?
Yep.
So how did you get away from that person?
He actually left.
Good for you.
He's like, "I'm gonna visit my parents out of state for a little bit." I'm like, "Cool. Please leave." And he's like, "Well, I'm just gonna stay here. I moved here now." Like, and like someone who was so attached to them, right? Because they love bomb you. They make you feel like they're the only person that matters. Obviously he didn't like any of my friends. So it's again the isolation to only be able to count on him, to rely on him, to like talk with him, and then to have that just completely severed, right? Like that broke me. Because I didn't know everything that was going on until I looked at it from the outside in after it happened.
Right.
So I felt completely like shattered and heartbroken
Really?
for no reason. I should not have felt that way, but I did.
Well, and you can't blame yourself because that's another situation where what do you do? I mean, even in my relationship now, she's got a maximum control. If she changed tomorrow, I would probably be trapped, like completely trapped. I would have no way out. I wouldn't have anybody to talk to. And so you do, like when you're in a relationship, it's supposed to be mutually supportive and caring. It's what it's supposed to be. And when it's not that, one party tends to get trapped. Like
Yeah.
it's very hard. And so, you know, kudos to you for just surviving that
I'm glad that,
for
like,
years.
I'm glad he had the courage to leave because I don't think looking at myself during that time in my life, I don't think I would have ever left because that's how they it's the manipulation.
Yeah. And
Like, I didn't think anyone, like I didn't think that I deserved anyone else. Like, like they break you down so much to where you feel like no one is ever gonna love you or like care for you the way that they do,
right.
right? So why leave then?
That's a horrible place to be.
Yeah.
And then it's years of your life you were kind of, uh, I hate to say it this way, but it's almost like you were in jail for like 3 years.
Yeah. I couldn't hang out with friends. Like, oh, you can't hang out with them. I don't like them.
And you've got one more story before I ask question two. This is all still
Yeah.
on question one. And I like for telling this story, uh, I already knew you were courageous because I've seen you like stand up to like big crazy people in the real world. Like I've seen this team. She's gutsy. Okay. But what I think about your courage now is even higher just for having the ability to come talk about this, because I know there are people that will see this that are living in the exact nightmare that you were living in.
Yeah.
And I hope that you're able to take some of Gina's courage um, and advice in this and escape whatever miserable situation that you're stuck in.
Yeah. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how small.
And there are people out here that will help. There really are. I know a lot of the victims I dealt with, there was just no trust in anybody on the outside being available to come out and help. But there are people that are out here that are good people that will help. I'm not to name bomb some organizations, so I'm not going to do that. But there are some organizations around the state that do a really good job that I've had the chance to work with, and they excel in this, and they don't put any pressure on a person to, because that sounds like the easiest thing. Well, Gina, you should have just left. Oh, sure.
Exactly, right?
Wow.
People tell me that all the time. Why didn't you just leave?
Gosh, I didn't think of
Huh.
that one.
No, but there's a people who aren't in that kind of situation don't understand.
Yeah,
And I'm not, asking people to be put in that situation because that's not something that I ever want anyone to experience. But in the end of that all, like I appreciate that I went through that because I learned a lot about myself that I would have never learned otherwise. And I think I came out a lot stronger, even though that strength came at a very hefty price. But, you know, I think forgiving yourself is like the first step.
good. You've got one more story to kind of walk through,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that lightly. I actually knew you during this story, and I
Yes.
was shocked when I heard. I think you told me at work what
Mhm.
had happened, and just shocked. But
Yeah.
go ahead and
Again, another relationship, but it wasn't going as exactly as I wanted it to. So, learning from things from my past relationships, I'm like, maybe I should just break it off now rather than later. And that turned out to be a very scary situation. So, this guy at the time, he was going through a lot of mental health issues. He was in the military and he was obviously going through some things. At one point he became suicidal, but, didn't want to reach out. And, I tried to help him as much as I could, listen to him, whatever. Ended up not working out as well as I'd hoped. And so at one point, I'm just like, I can't. Like, if you can't help yourself, you have me as support and you're still like, oh, healthcare doesn't do anything. They don't actually care for you. It's again the manipulation tactic. He wanted me to leave work in the middle of work to come console him.
I think I remember, if tell me if I'm making this up in my head, but I do think I remember being in a social situation with him.
Yeah.
And maybe it was when I resigned or a little my bye-bye party from work. I think that's what it was. And he went and like sat in a corner and like, I saw those red flags. That was when I knew this is not good
I
because
noticed it.
yeah, because I'm like that is the sign of somebody who is going to try to basically rip you away from this. Like
Yeah.
that person feels very threatened because you're in a group of a bunch of us old people.
And I'm having fun too.
Yeah, we were
You
having a
know?
good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is like when we're having fun and it's not by their causation, they don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. You could see it plain as
Mhm.
day at that
Yeah.
specific thing. Like goodness. There was a bunch of like what? I think our age range was 40 to 80 in that
Yeah.
table. So it wasn't exactly like we were young kids coming
Right.
to take you to party. Goodness gracious. We were sitting at a restaurant. But yeah, I saw that. And so then I remember how it ended. But if you don't mind telling
Yeah,
that story,
no
this
problem.
is also horrific.
Well, I decided to do the right thing and break up in person. I'm never doing that again.
No,
Never. I don't care if it's not right, but if I don't feel safe to do it in person, I won't. So the day before, he kicked his friend out of his house. And what I didn't know at the time was that he pointed a loaded gun at him and told him to get the F out for no reason. They were watching a TV series and his friend made a comment and then he just snapped. He's like, he grabbed his gun and he's like, get the F out of my house right now at his friend. Right. And I didn't know that. So, like, they had a falling out, whatever. So he is now in crisis mode because now he's suicidal because of all that happened with his friend. So I went over there to console him. And after I consoled him, I had some serious things to think about. And so I decided to end it. So I went over there and I'm like, hey, we're going to have to talk. And I went over to his house and he's like, okay, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, look, man, like, I can't do this anymore. And he's like, well, what happened 3 months ago? I'm like, what do you mean 3 months ago? He's like, when you cheated on me. I'm like, what? So at that time I hit a deer with my vehicle. So I was dealing with insurance. Because insurance was giving me the runaround with like if they're going to total it out or if they're going to like get it fixed for me. So my car's in the shop for 3 months and I'm running on a rental. I'm trying to get insurance to be like, hey, are you going to total it? Do I need to look for a new car? So for the last 3 months, that's what I was doing. And he thought I was cheating on him.
you did get a cool new car.
I did get a cool new car.
That's
Yes.
a really nice car.
Worth it.
Better than anything I've ever had.
And he's like, yeah, when you cheated on me. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, every time you'd come over here, you'd look all guilty stricken and depressed and sad. It's obvious. I'm like, dude, no, I was just unhappy. So after a few more like choice words, he's like, you want to know what happened with my friend? I'm like, what? And he grabs the gun again and he points it. And he's like, I told him to get the F out. Yeah.
So
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave now. Again, terrified. So I leave. And then he wanted my dog. And he wanted to go on long-term disability for mental health.
and everybody that knows you knows, by the way, that your dog is your favorite person in the world.
My dog is my favorite person in the world, so there is a connecting story to this. He wanted to go on long-term disability for mental health, just because of his mental health, whatever. Like, it's fine if that's what he feels like he needs to do. That's okay. But then he sends me a text. And he's like, "Hey, since I'll be officially retired, I'll have a lot more time for Ryder. I really think that you should give me her because she can have a much more enriching and fulfilling life with me since I'll be officially retired. You should consider it." I've had her since she was 8 weeks old, and she was 8 at that time. What makes you think I'm just gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, I have to work."
That's probably a way of trying to keep you around, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another manipulative tactic to,
Yep.
yeah.
So then later that day after I broke up with him, my friend calls me, and he's like, "Hey, Gina, do I have to be worried about him?" Like, "What do you mean? Like, what happened?" He's like, "Well, he just called me and up and threatened to slash my tires." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, so I called the police on him." I'm like, should good. Like,
Yeah.
that's what you should do. I'm really sorry. Like, I feel at fault for that. So I'm like, I'm really sorry. And then my ex at the time, he sends me a text. And he's like, real upstanding guy that your friend is, having him call the cops on me.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So in that one, you dodged a bullet.
That one I dodged a bullet. Yeah.
Literally.
Literally. Yes.
Jeez.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but like, oh my God, it's like relieving getting out of that alive.
No, I remember when that happened, how proud I was of you because I mean, you were tough.
Yeah.
And that's something that you learned over those difficult times.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna go to question 2 now.
Yeah.
We
Yep.
have it's a 4-question podcast, even though we ask a lot of questions in between.
No worries.
But looking back at everything that you dealt with,
Mhm.
um, when I work with people who are contemplating dying by suicide, almost always it's because hope is gone and there's just nothing. Like you don't care if the football team you love wins, like anything that was positive in your life. Do you remember a time when it was just hopeless? Do you remember that feeling? And can you kind of talk us through what might have been a darkest time for you?
Yeah, no, it was definitely the I think was the biggest one. Especially not knowing how to cope with it, not having the support. So I turned to alcohol for that. And for it it definitely hindered my healing for sure. Just because I didn't feel like I could reach out for help. But just reminding yourself that there is help should you ever ask for it, I think is the biggest point that I'm trying to make here. I didn't
Good.
feel like I needed to ask for it. I felt like I can just intrinsically deal with it myself.
That's a perfect storm for being totally disconnected.
Yeah.
And
I was very, very low. Like I wanted to drink and not wake up.
yeah, and it's tough because the drinking in and of itself, this is when I teach suicide prevention, when I teach QPR, it's what I try to gently remind people. But if I have something really tragic in my life happen, like a kid dies, come
Mhm.
take all my booze and take my guns away. Because what happens is there's this, what they call it the lethal triangle, but like alcohol doesn't always play to your best. Now, like me personally, I'm a social drinker and I've always been a fun guy. Like I'm generally nice and I get a little nicer and I'm smiley and goofy and that's kind of my thing. I got some friends that immediately want to fight. I'm like, no, you probably shouldn't be drinking ever
Right.
because this doesn't lead to good things when you're already feeling hopeless and your inhibitions go away. That's when bad things can really
It
happen.
magnifies. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It really does. There are good times to say that I should not be around this stuff, and it's okay. It doesn't mean that there's a problem. Really, it's self-medication, like you said earlier, and it's not to be blamed on anybody. Like when you don't know how to fix something that's wrong, you do whatever feels better than what feels bad.
It's that instant gratification that you immediately need just because you're feeling that down.
Yeah. So that was your dark place.
It was, yeah.
And how the heck, Gina, after all that, how the heck are you here now and doing so well? Like, how? Like, talk to us because this is what.
I wanted to do something for myself, anything, an accomplishment. So I decided to go back to school.
Huzzah, that's what that
That
was?
I designed, yeah. I know it's simple, but being and like just drinking every night, being hungover, just dealing and coping with it. Journaling was another huge thing that I did. I journaled everything. Like I wrote down quotes. I mean, just wrote anything. That's where I kind of discovered like, oh, maybe I like poetry. Poetry's cool. So I decided to do poetry. It took me a long time to find like my niche of what I really wanted to do, but like I was determined. So I'm like, poetry, cool. No, maybe photography. Editing photos sounds really fun. I want to take a class on editing photos. Oh, well, I have to sign up for graphic design for that. Okay. So I took graphic design because I wanted to learn how to like do Photoshop and edit photos. And then after taking like one semester of graphic design, I fell in love. So like that was it.
And now there are entire slide presentations being given to like generals in the Department of Defense that you have created, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And your talent for it is like I'm art incapable. And so I play music, right? I play music.
That's art.
But visual art, I got nothing on visual art nor poetry. In fact, to all my friends who've sent me poetry over the years that I've just been like,
I'll understand them. Don't worry.
I don't get it. Like I'm like, yeah, doesn't do anything for me. And that's probably why my lyrics aren't the greatest either. But I've seen you do this in action. Like you have become such an artist. Like with my album cover. This album meant a lot to me. It's the only album I'll ever put out in my life. It contains a lot of songs that took me a long time to figure out how to write, and I wanted to have something special. And when you just kind of grilled me with some questions
Yeah.
and then came up with this thing right here, like, by the way, they're still for sale. I got to throw a plug in there because we're
Yep.
doing
You're
that for
fine.
another, like $20. It's a huge waste of money, and it's for a really good cause.
Yeah.
You get to see her art. That's really the coolest part of it. You can put it up on the wall, and people are like, "Wow, what is that?" And just don't play it for them. We don't, no, I'm kidding. The music doesn't suck that bad.
No, it doesn't. It's very good music.
So you, to pull yourself out of your funk, went back to school, got a new life ahead of you, and it really is your. I mean, dude,
Yeah.
you found your thing.
Yeah. And
Like,
I was actually still dating him when I decided to go back to school because I'm like, dude, like I'm alone here. Whatever. I'm just going to go for it.
good.
So I just signed up for school and then he left me the next year and it was the best thing that ever happened.
And I was there when you graduated,
He
don't you?
graduated summa cum laude, so everything was great.
Yeah, and you've just been doing nothing but amazing stuff ever since then. So
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, I fully expect one day. And by the way, if you need graphic design, I will connect you, because if you've got a concept and you can't think past the concept, this is the person for you. I had to come up with a logo for an LLC that I run, and I had gave you nothing. I
Nothing.
think absolutely nothing. Now I have a really cool logo, cool business card. It's all squared away. Yeah, um,
Well, thank you.
it's really neat that that's how you came out of your own difficult spot. That's a unique one. We've had everything from uh, alternative medicines, which I support. I really do. Like some of the kooky, crazy stuff out there, I support it. The science is there for veterans, people with PTSD, and by the way, folks who have survived sexual assault tend to have comparative levels of PTSD that compare with like you know, military grade violence. Like it's almost treated the same in the mental health world. We've had other people who've used faith. We've had people who have just done that little one step at a time thing. But the outcome is these amazing heroes.
Yeah.
And if you are in a bad spot right now, you please just believe me, you can make it. You can really get there any one of these ways. And if something that can help you out is to find a new hobby, a new talent, and to chase it as far as Gina did, I know it'll work for you.
Believe in yourself, I think is the biggest thing is to start getting back into believing in yourself.
Yeah. And not blaming yourself.
No, no, forgive yourself first. And then like near the end of my healing stage, like I forgave those people, right? Forgiving those people who hurt me so much made me that much of a better I know it's really hard to hear. I know it's so difficult to like, how could you forgive someone who's done those things to you? But that's part of the healing process for me that made me feel like I came out a better person because of all of these situations. So like I appreciated it, even though it came at such a painful cost.
That's That's a very inspiring story. My last question, because the question three is generally a relatively easy one, and you have a very straightforward way that you addressed your issues, and you continue to go. Like I've seen you. You're on an amazing trajectory. Plus, you climb.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, she's a rock climber too.
I climb rocks.
And there's rocks you can climb in the Midwest, team. If you did not know that, okay, right? Even in the Midwest, you can climb rocks.
Yep.
So, last one is, if you were talking to yourself at your lowest period or in any of these moments, just what would you say to yourself? Somebody in a similar situation.
First things first, allow your feelings to be felt. That is a huge one. Just do whatever you need to do to make sure you feel those emotions because you're never going to heal if you don't feel with them and deal with them. After you felt like you had whatever time frame you have, there's no set time frame, but every time after that fact, know what you could do better for next time. What did you learn from this situation? After you dealt with the emotions, what did you learn? That's a big thing.
That's amazing advice. Um, are there any organizations, books, anything you would point somebody to that was a part of your journey, or anything you'd like me to point people to, other than your website, which I don't know if you have one up?
I used to have one website.
Okay,
I actually don't, I didn't seek any support.
good.
Like,
Yeah,
this was completely like my own journey where, like I said, I've had all of these relationships where I didn't feel like I could reach out for support. So I just never did.
And you relied on yourself.
I relied on myself. Yeah.
You made it happen.
The inner strength, your inner strength is going to be your biggest partner in life. Just knowing you have that strength to overcome.
It's amazing. I know people that don't think they can do it, and you can do it. Like, I go back into my own history, and the worst, and in December, I'm actually going to come be in the other chair, and I'm looking for an interviewer out there because I don't know if my daughter's interested. I'm trying to get my oldest daughter to maybe interview, but I remember back to my darkest time, and it was like a darkest period. It wasn't a time, but after what I had dealt with in my youth, I quit. I dropped out of high school. I got myself kicked out of the army. I ended up all the way homeless and then living in a van down by the river. Believe it or not, I actually lived in a van down by the river, and I did not believe in myself at all.
Yeah.
I thought I was just going to die. That's all I was going to do. I didn't have any value. And sort of like you, for me, it was just some incremental steps.
Yep.
Because I thought well, at the time I wanted to be a punk rocker, and I just wanted to party myself to death. That's all I wanted to do. That was my only, the only thing I saw in my future. And it's hard to realize that this is possible. Like, I'm not saying I'm an amazing person, but I'm just saying that, like, holy crap.
The sense of accomplishment you feel within yourself is amazing. Just
Yeah.
feeling that.
When I was an E5, just in the Army, they gave me a machine gun book for the 50 caliber machine gun. And they're like, hey, I was kind of like a turd soldier at that time. I got called out of the inactive reserves where I was for my dark times. And this is after 9/11 happened, and I was going to war,
Mhm.
and I got called up involuntarily. I wasn't really like raising my right hand, like, let's go do this. And they gave me this book, Platoon Sergeant Chuck Evans, who to this day is kind of like my adopted dad, even though we've had some disagreements recently. But anyways, he gave me a book, said, learn this machine gun. You're going to be my number one guy on this, and you're going to teach everybody, and it's all on you, and we're going to war. And that was the first time in my life where I was like, okay, I started reading.
Yeah.
I got good at something. Like, for the first time ever, like, I was good at something. And
Yeah.
like, that first little bit of momentum, getting good at one thing,
Yep.
took me everywhere I've been
It
since
snowballs. It
Yeah.
snowballs into something tenfold.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really does. So
That's why I do think, having it come from yourself, because you can have people like, maybe you should talk to a therapist. Maybe there's these resources. Like, it's not just only like having people tell you that there's resources, but you need to have the faith in yourself to be able to feel like you are worthy of those resources.
sure.
Because, like, I didn't think I needed it. I mean, it would have been nice. But,
Hindsight being 2020.
right, hindsight. but but having faith in yourself is the biggest thing, and trusting yourself and just having that self-confidence.
Last thing.
Okay.
Speaking of self-confidence, I would love to put a plug out for your YouTube channel. So please plug yourself here, because I think you deserve a good plug.
Yeah, definitely. No. So not only did I take to graphic design actually to like help get over what had happened to me, I actually went into gaming. So I started like gaming on like the PS4 and the PS5. And I'm like, oh man, this is like a really fun way to help cope with my crappy past. So I like got really good at video games. So I ended up starting a YouTube channel, Roast and Hose, ROASTNHOES.
I will put a link to Roast and Hose because it's pretty funny. And she does rock at video games and murders all sorts of people.
Yeah, so I do play mostly like RPGs like Fallout and Skyrim. My first person shooter is Apex Legends, so you'll see a lot of videos on those, but I do live stream Fallout and Subnautica right now. Make sure you check it out.
Roast and Hose. That name made me laugh so much because we were meeting up for a business thing, and I think you joined me on, what were we on, like Zoom or something?
I probably joined with my Google account, which was Roast and Hose.
And I like sat there and laughed for like 5 minutes because I'm like, oh, Roast and Hose is joining the chat. Okay.
It's just like those YouTube shorts you see of like judges and virtual meetings.
I cannot watch that one video. What did he
He turned into a cat. I'm not a cat. I'm here.
Okay, yes, that one makes me laugh. The other one, his name was like, it was a very naughty word that he came and joined us, and the judge was very unhappy.
I don't think he got any brownie points.
I just imagine his friend somewhere in the background that did that to him.
I would be that kind of friend.
Okay. Anyways, Gina, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Check out Roast and Hose on YouTube. And like in all seriousness, team, I hope you find some positive takeaways. Gina's story can be your story. Thanks for spending some time with us. Take care, everybody.